The cold, silent expanse of space has just witnessed an occurrence utterly beyond the boundaries of the possible. Deep within that profound darkness, an object, designated 3IATLAS, this interstellar wanderer we have observed for months, has reached a decision. This visitor, which pierced the boundaries of our solar system on a trajectory so swift it was ordained to depart forever, has initiated a profound alteration in its course. I speak not of a minute adjustment, a negligible drift barely detectable by our instruments. This is a deliberate, powered, large-scale deceleration event, occurring on a scale that fundamentally contravenes every natural principle we understand. The sheer magnitude of this phenomenon underscores the profound and unsettling mystery surrounding 3IATLAS, a mystery that captivates and terrifies in equal measure. Understanding the implications of this impossible slowing down is crucial, for only then can we grasp the full weight of the situation. For the preceding 11 days, our most exquisitely sensitive tracking systems have consistently confirmed the same astonishing reality. 3IATLAS has been actively shedding speed, losing velocity at a rate that no comet, no asteroid could ever accomplish through natural forces alone. It has shed more than 2.8 kilometers per second of its excess velocity. This staggering figure has ignited genuine alarm within the normally hushed precincts of the astronomical community. Let me be unequivocally clear regarding the significance of this data. When an object ventures from the vast reaches of deep interstellar space, originating from another star system entirely, it arrives bearing immense inherent momentum. It arrives as a cosmic bullet, its velocity so formidable that the sun's gravity acts only as a temporary impediment on its journey outwards. Natural celestial bodies, governed solely by the immutable laws of physics, experience alterations in their paths exclusively when influenced by the immense gravitational fields of massive entities they encounter, be it the radiant heart of our solar system, the Sun, or the colossal gas giant Jupiter. Such objects are, in essence, passive subjects of cosmic forces. However, the trajectory of 3IATLAS defies this fundamental principle. It is not merely responding to gravity, it is actively defying its pull. This phenomenon involves a continuous counteraction against its inherent momentum. Crucially, this represents a real-time, dynamic alteration of its predetermined cosmic destiny. A lifeless fragment of rock and ice, or even a comet traversing the void, possesses no agency to enact such control. They lack any capacity for decision-making, such as the deliberate act of deceleration. An asteroid, for instance, does not possess the autonomy to meticulously reduce its velocity by kilometers per second, sustained persistently over days stretching into weeks. What unfolds before us is unequivocally one of controlled, sustained, and actively powered deceleration. This unequivocal behavior implies the presence of guidance mechanisms and an internal power source. It suggests that an intelligence, whether consciously aware or operating under precise programming, is directing 3IATLAS to remain within our solar system. This entity is making a definitive choice to remain here, within the relative warmth and context of our stellar neighborhood, rather than slipping back permanently into the interminable, frigid darkness between the stars. This profound deviation from natural astronomical behavior fundamentally shifts the scientific consensus. The scientific community, previously characterized by curiosity, now finds itself gripped by unease and significant alarm. Consider the analysts meticulously plotting these anomalous trajectories. Their discussions are no longer held in open forums, but within secure, discrete channels, reflecting deep concern.
Furthermore, this phenomenon has reached the highest levels of major space agencies, including NASA and the European Space Agency. Inside these prestigious institutions, a sense of quiet panic is beginning to spread among the experts. The reason for this escalating apprehension is clear. Whatever 3IATLAS represents, whatever intelligence or unknown mechanism propels it, it is demonstrably executing intentional, high-power maneuvers. These maneuvers exhibit capabilities far surpassing the most advanced technological achievements currently within human grasp. Consequently, the single, stark question that now demands universal confrontation is both deceptively simple and profoundly terrifying within the annals of human history. Why is this enigmatic object deliberately slowing down? Why is it exercising its apparent agency to choose permanence within our solar system instead of following the natural, unimpeded path back into the vast, cold emptiness between the stars? The answers remain elusive at present, yet the potential ramifications resonate with staggering magnitude. This ongoing, seemingly impossible deceleration maneuver marks merely the inception of a profound enigma. To grasp the full weight of this sudden, astonishing deviation, a shift so radical it fundamentally challenges established paradigms, we must revisit the object's designated purpose. 3IATLAS was originally projected to execute a specific sequence of actions upon its arrival within the inner solar system. Its trajectory, as meticulously charted by astronomers, followed what is termed a hyperbolic path. This astronomical concept proves pivotal. A hyperbolic path defines the course of an object on an unavoidable escape route. It signifies that 3IATLAS possessed vastly more than the necessary velocity, far exceeding the kinetic energy required to permanently break free from the sun's gravitational embrace.
The anticipated scenario, dictated by immutable laws of physics, was straightforward. The object would perform a single gravitational slingshot maneuver around our sun, acting as a brief cosmic tourist, and subsequently vanish back into the eternal depths of interstellar space, returning to the origin of its voyage. It was conceived as a simple, one-time passage. However, the established narrative has been abruptly abandoned. The script has been torn asunder. For several consecutive weeks, observers have meticulously tracked its excess velocity, the surplus speed it carried well beyond the sun's critical escape velocity. This excess velocity, which initially presented itself as a comfortable margin, a guaranteed assurance of its permanent departure, has undergone a steady and relentless erosion. What began as a generous buffer, seemingly inexhaustible, has been whittled away day by day, hour by hour. It is as though the object itself is exerting a continuous, invisible, and astonishingly powerful braking force. Initially, many leading experts and senior scientists offered a compelling counter-explanation. They insisted it must represent a measurement error, an inevitable artifact of instrumentation. Perhaps a specific telescope had registered an anomalous glitch. Perhaps atmospheric turbulence had introduced distortions into the data. Yet, as independent observatories situated continents apart, separated by entire oceans, all reported the identical phenomenon, that initial hope evaporated like dew beneath a relentless sun. The evidence became undeniable. Based on comprehensive analysis of observations from Chilean observatories and the Hubble Space Telescope, the data aligns remarkably well with findings from ground-based arrays. The evidence conclusively demonstrates that the deceleration observed in the object designated 3IATLAS is a genuine phenomenon. This loss of velocity is sustained and consistent, revealing a trend that is utterly unmistakable. Unless an unforeseen intervention occurs, which current models and observations provide no indication of,
this trajectory will persist. Consequently, within the imminent time frame of the coming weeks, 3IATLAS will undergo a profound transformation. It will transition from its initial state as a runaway interstellar visitor hurtling through the void to becoming a captured object bound gravitationally to our Sun. This fate mirrors that of every celestial body that naturally inhabits our solar system, from the planets themselves and countless asteroids to comets. However, it is precisely at this point that the situation escalates into deeply unsettling territory. The object's deceleration is not random or chaotic. It does not resemble the scattered debris resulting from a simple fracture.
Instead, the current direction of its motion, combined with the exact, smooth, and entirely predictable pattern of its deceleration, strongly indicates a very specific and profoundly unsettling outcome. 3IATLAS is actively shaping its own orbit. The simulations run on the world's most powerful supercomputers, utilized by the leading orbital dynamics teams, all converge on a singular, alarming conclusion. The orbit it is targeting is not a random elliptical path extending out towards the regions of Jupiter or Saturn. Computational projections overwhelmingly point towards a trajectory that repeatedly crosses the very same region of space occupied by Earth. This results in an orbit that will repeatedly bring 3IATLAS into our immediate celestial neighborhood in a predictable rhythm, strikingly similar to a gravitational resonance phenomenon. This is not mere speculation or theoretical conjecture. This is the rigorous conclusion derived from the most advanced orbital models currently available to science. These are the same highly skilled teams responsible for guiding our own spacecraft on their incredibly precise journeys across millions of miles of the solar system. Their collective assessment, based on irrefutable observational data and complex simulations, points to an orbit that repeatedly intersects Earth's path. The scientific community is running the simulations repeatedly, thousands of iterations in total. Each simulation assumes a scenario where this phenomenon, known as 3IATLAS, continues its controlled deceleration. Consistently, every version of these complex models produces the identical outcome: the formation of a gravitationally bound, stable orbit. This specific trajectory repeatedly transports the object into our immediate celestial neighborhood in a predictable rhythm, strikingly similar to a gravitational resonance phenomenon. This is not mere speculation or theoretical conjecture. This is the rigorous conclusion derived from the most advanced orbital models currently available to science. These are the same highly skilled teams responsible for guiding our own spacecraft on their incredibly precise journeys across millions of miles of the solar system. Their collective assessment, based on irrefutable observational data and complex simulations, points to an orbit that repeatedly intersects Earth's path. Let us now examine the extraordinary physical requirements for an object to achieve the maneuvers exhibited by 3IATLAS. Slowing down within the vastness of deep space is not a simple process. It is far from being a gentle application of brakes. To shed the incredible velocity this object is losing, that initial speed of 2.8 kilometers per second and continuing to decrease, demands an astronomical amount of energy. It necessitates immense, staggering, almost incomprehensible energy. We are discussing an energy expenditure greater than the total raw power humanity utilized to send all the Apollo astronauts to the moon combined.
This represents more sustained power output than any chemical propulsion engine ever constructed by humankind could possibly deliver over such an extended, continuous period. This is precisely why the scientific establishment is quietly losing its composure. While public statements maintain a veneer of calm, internal communications are frantic. To transition from a hyperbolic escape path destined to leave the solar system forever to a bound, stable orbit, an object must shed kilometers per second of velocity. This required change in velocity, known as delta V,
is so demanding that even our most advanced billion-dollar spacecraft are incapable of achieving it.
This represents more sustained power output than any chemical propulsion engine ever constructed by humankind could possibly deliver over such an extended, continuous period. This is precisely why the scientific establishment is quietly losing its composure. While public statements maintain a veneer of calm, internal communications are frantic. To transition from a hyperbolic escape path, destined to leave the solar system forever, to a bound, stable orbit, an object must shed kilometers per second of velocity. This required change in velocity, known as delta V, is so demanding that even our most advanced billion-dollar spacecraft are incapable of achieving it without carrying massive, dedicated fuel reserves that dwarf the size of the craft itself. Truly, probes like Voyager or New Horizons are fundamentally constrained by the trajectories they were launched upon. They possess neither the capability nor the fuel to simply halt their journey or alter course dramatically. Their paths are irrevocably set. Yet, an object designated as 3IATLAS is accomplishing precisely this act of defiance against celestial mechanics. It is executing what appears to be an impossible deceleration maneuver, achieving it with remarkable smoothness, pinpoint precision, and an unwavering consistency that persists day after day. This persistence is itself bewildering. What truly fractures conventional understanding, however, is the absence of any visible manifestation of propulsion as we comprehend it. There is not a single trace of an exhaust plume observable. Our most sophisticated astronomical instruments, including the unparalleled capabilities of the James Webb Telescope, have been meticulously directed towards this enigmatic entity. Scientists have conducted exhaustive searches for even the faintest hint of vapor, escaping gases, or expelled ions that would betray the operation of a conventional engine. The result is uniformly negative. Nothing is detected. Furthermore, the expected thermal signature is conspicuously missing. If 3IATLAS were utilizing a fusion engine, or perhaps even an advanced fission reactor, to sustain this prolonged deceleration burn, it should radiate intensely in the infrared spectrum. Such a power source would render it the most luminous object within its immediate region of space. Instead, it remains astonishingly cold to our sensors, defying established physical expectations. Crucially, there is no visible mass ejection occurring. The object is not discarding fragments of itself, such as propellant tanks or structural components, to generate the force required for braking. Its method of altering its own trajectory, its very fate, is conducted in complete and profound silence. This silent transformation is deeply unsettling. Whatever technological system underpins this deceleration burn is demonstrably alien to our current scientific framework. It does not exist within our textbooks.
It might represent a form of field propulsion, potentially involving the direct manipulation of gravitational forces themselves. Or perhaps some other technology so exceedingly advanced that to our limited perception, it appears indistinguishable from magic. This singular, silent act of defiance forces humanity to confront a reality that many specialists have hesitated to fully acknowledge for many months. 3IATLAS is not behaving like a passive celestial body, a simple rock composed of ice and dust adrift in the void. Its actions unequivocally demonstrate it is behaving like an artificial construct, like a sophisticated vehicle.
It might represent a form of field propulsion, potentially involving the direct manipulation of gravitational forces themselves, or perhaps some other technology so exceedingly advanced that, to our limited perception, it appears indistinguishable from magic. This singular, silent act of defiance forces humanity to confront a reality that many specialists have hesitated to fully acknowledge for many months. 3IATLAS is not behaving like a passive celestial body, a simple rock composed of ice and dust adrift in the void. Its actions unequivocally demonstrate it is behaving like an artificial construct, like a sophisticated vehicle actively piloted and controlled. This phenomenon is under precise, active, and intelligent control, marking a pivotal shift from fringe theory to a conclusion that aligns seamlessly with observed data. Essentially, we are witnessing a machine at work. However, the most striking aspect of this occurrence is not the alien technology itself, which has the potential to redefine our world. Instead, it is the timing that raises profound concerns. Let's consider the sequence of events. Right after its closest approach to Earth, the entity known as 3IATLAS initiated a dramatic, energy-intensive maneuver. Picture this: it traversed our inner system on a high-speed escape trajectory. In doing so, it collected data, scrutinized our planet, and moved past our dense array of satellites. It absorbed the cacophony of our radio, television, and military signals, a chaotic storm of human activity. After gathering this information, it reached the point of maximum proximity and then began to decelerate. This action suggests that what it learned during its brief encounter altered its original intentions. It appears the decision to remain, to interrupt its 2-million-year journey back to the void, was influenced by what it witnessed here. What did this entity perceive? Did it observe our cities, illuminating the night side of the planet? Did it detect the chemical signatures of our atmosphere, indicative of industrial life? Did it eavesdrop on our radio communications, encompassing everything from conflicts and entertainment to our technological advancements? Could it have discerned our divisions, our instability, and the fragile, warring nature of our species? There must have been something in that fleeting flyby that convinced it, or the intelligence behind it, to change its primary mission. To abandon, to escape, to expend an unbelievable amount of energy to remain within reach of Earth. And whatever the answer is, we are not prepared for the implications. We are simply not ready, because this is no longer just an interstellar visitor passing through. Oh, this is something making a choice, a deliberate, calculated choice. A choice with consequences humanity has never, ever had to face before in its entire history. The game has changed, and we did not even know we were playing.
The moment scientists realized the breaking was intentional, the entire global conversation shifted. It moved out of the quiet academic halls of astronomy and into the windowless, secure rooms of strategy, defense, and national security. Because once you accept that 3IATLAS is maneuvering with purpose, you are forced to accept the next, far more terrifying reality. We are utterly, completely, and totally helpless. We cannot influence that purpose. We cannot redirect it. We cannot stop it. Whatever it plans, whatever its endgame is, we are simply observers. We are ants on a railroad track, suddenly aware of the onrushing train.
The moment scientists realized the breaking was intentional, the entire global conversation shifted. It moved out of the quiet academic halls of astronomy and into the windowless, secure rooms of strategy, defense, and national security. Because once you accept that 3IATLAS is maneuvering with purpose, you are forced to accept the next far more terrifying reality. We are utterly, completely, and totally helpless. We cannot influence that purpose. We cannot redirect it. We cannot stop it. Whatever it plans, whatever its endgame is, we are simply observers. We are ants on a railroad track, suddenly aware of the onrushing train, able to do nothing but watch. Inside major space agencies, the tone has changed. The quiet alarm of the initial discovery has escalated into genuine, palpable fear. This is not because 3IATLAS has shown any aggression. It has not. It has not fired a weapon or made a threatening move. The fear comes from something far more fundamental. The sheer magnitude of this entity's demonstrated capabilities dwarfs anything humanity has ever conceived, rendering our existing global power structures utterly insignificant in comparison. Contemplate the implications should this visitor successfully establish a stable, bound orbit around our Sun. It would instantly become a permanent artificial celestial body within our solar system's fabric, a new planetary presence.
Crucially, this presence arrives uninvited and irrevocably establishes itself. We possess no means to expel it. Its movements operate with a flawless precision and immense power fundamentally beyond our comprehension or replication. The arsenal we pride ourselves upon, our swiftest missiles and most devastating nuclear weapons, would prove utterly futile, no more substantial than children's playthings, against an entity capable of altering its velocity by kilometers per second, effortlessly, without any visible mechanism.
Crucially, this presence arrives uninvited and irrevocably establishes itself. We possess no means to expel it. Its movements operate with a flawless precision and immense power fundamentally beyond our comprehension or replication. The arsenal we pride ourselves upon, our swiftest missiles and most devastating nuclear weapons, would prove utterly futile, no more substantial than children's playthings against an entity capable of altering its velocity by kilometers per second effortlessly, without any visible mechanism. Furthermore, its intended orbital trajectory is not that of a distant, benign path skirting the outer planets near the orbit of Neptune. The orbital path it is actively and meticulously forging directly intersects the very region of space traversed by our own planet. This intersection signifies inevitable, repeated interactions. It guarantees predictable returns at regular intervals. It establishes a distinct, inescapable rhythm of proximity. Imagine a technological marvel whose power source defies our understanding, passing near Earth again and again, its schedule dictated not by natural celestial mechanics, but by this alien intelligence observing from afar. It becomes a new, silent sentinel in our night sky, a constant, undeniable reminder that humanity no longer stands alone at the pinnacle of intelligence within its own cosmic home. This stark reality has profoundly unsettled every major governmental body across the globe, placing them firmly on edge. Consequently, diplomatic channels hum with an intense, urgent energy, operating ceaselessly throughout the night, fueled by a frantic and deeply secretive determination to address this unprecedented challenge. As the cosmic frontier grows more crowded, the major powers capable of venturing beyond our atmosphere, the United States, the People's Republic of China, the Russian Federation, and the multinational consortium known as the European Space Agency, find themselves engaged in a complex, often cautious exchange of information. This data sharing occurs with varying degrees of openness. Sometimes it is hesitant, bordering on reluctance, while at other times it is pursued with clear strategic intent. Their primary aim is twinned: to discern the potential actions and underlying motivations of their counterparts, while simultaneously unraveling the fundamental nature of the mysterious object now observed in deep space. This enigmatic presence stirs profoundly divergent reactions among these ambitious nations. For some, driven by a potent sense of opportunity, the object's apparent decision to remain within the solar system sparks intense speculation. They ponder the possibility of initiating contact, a potential exchange of profound knowledge, or even achieving technological breakthroughs so significant that they might permanently alter the delicate balance of terrestrial power dynamics. Conversely, a deep-seated apprehension grips others. Fear dominates their perspective, casting the object as an imminent threat. Their anxieties focus on tangible vulnerabilities, the specter of pervasive surveillance, the potential for catastrophic interference with critical satellite constellations, the disruption of global communications networks, and the crippling of essential power grids. Beyond these concrete worries lies an even more unsettling dread, a fear of consequences so unimaginable that they defy current human comprehension.
Fear dominates their perspective, casting the object as an imminent threat. Their anxieties focus on tangible vulnerabilities, the specter of pervasive surveillance, the potential for catastrophic interference with critical satellite constellations, the disruption of global communications networks, and the crippling of essential power grids. Beyond these concrete worries lies an even more unsettling dread, a fear of consequences so unimaginable that they defy current human comprehension. These powerful emotions, the fervent hope carried by ambition, and the paralyzing weight of fear are intertwining, generating a novel and potent form of global tension. This emerging standoff, characterized by profound uncertainty, echoes the chilling dynamics of past geopolitical standoffs, but represents something entirely new, a Cold War defined not by known adversaries, but by an unknown, potentially alien presence whose intentions remain utterly inscrutable. Beneath this layer of international rivalry and suspicion, however, lies a more fundamental unease, one that resonates within the scientific community itself. It is the physicists meticulously calculating trajectories, the propulsion experts probing the laws of mechanics, and the engineers responsible for constructing humanity's own launch vehicles, who confront the most unsettling reality. The object designated 3IATLAS is demonstrably employing a form of thrust that bears no resemblance to any propulsion mechanism cataloged within established physics. It is distinctly not a chemical rocket, as such technology would necessarily produce a visible plume ejecting exhaust gases. It is equally not an ion drive, which would leave a distinct, detectable trail of accelerated particles. Nor is it utilizing a solar sail, as solar sails interact predictably with stellar radiation pressure. Crucially, 3IATLAS is observed to be decelerating, a behavior inconsistent with passive solar sailing. If this object is expelling mass to generate its anomalous thrust, it is achieving this expulsion in a manner entirely undetectable by our current instrumentation. Similarly, if it is generating heat as a byproduct of its operation, it is doing so with absolute thermodynamic efficiency, venting no discernible thermal signature beyond the reach of even our most sensitive infrared sensors. This fundamental disconnect between observed motion and expected physical signatures represents a profound challenge to our understanding of the universe and our place within it. Now, 1. Opening.
Motivations, ambition. Expanded, see opportunity to stirs profound reactions and elaborated on the potential outcomes, initiating contact, exchange of profound knowledge, technological breakthroughs so significant they can alter the delicate balance of terrestrial power dynamics. Motivations, fear. Deepened, see nothing but danger with specific examples, the specter of pervasive surveillance, the motivations, ambition. Expanded, see opportunity to stirs profound reactions and elaborated on the potential outcomes, initiating contact, exchange of profound knowledge, technological breakthroughs so significant could alter the delicate balance of terrestrial power dynamics. 3. Motivations, fear. Deepened, see nothing but danger with specific examples, the specter of pervasive surveillance, the catastrophic interference with critical satellite constellations, the disruption of global communications networks, the crippling of essential power grids, enhanced something worse with unimaginable that defy current human comprehension. 4.
Geopolitical tension added, these powerful emotions are intertwining, and described the resulting tension as novel and potent, explicitly linking it to the uncertainty and unknown, potentially alien presence, calling it something entirely new, a Cold War defined not by known adversaries, but by an unknown entity whose intentions remain utterly inscrutable. Used echoes the chilling dynamics of past geopolitical standoffs for historical context. 5. Scientific unease, introduced, resonates within the scientific community itself. Expanded the people who study orbits to a more descriptive list, the physicists meticulously calculating trajectories, the propulsion experts probing the laws of mechanics, and the engineers responsible for constructing humanity's own launch vehicles, emphasized their role as confront the most unsettling reality. 6. Propulsion mystery. Dramatized, 3IATLAS is using a form of thrust to demonstrably employing bears no resemblance, cataloged within established physics. Expanded each propulsion type comparison. Chemical would necessarily produce a visible plume ejecting exhaust gases. Ion drive would leave a distinct detectable trail of accelerated particles. Solar sail, as solar sails interact predictably with stellar radiation pressure. Added the critical observation. Crucially, 3IATLAS is observed to be decelerating, a behavior inconsistent with passive solar sailing. Mass expulsion, achieving this expulsion in a manner entirely undetectable by our current instrumentation. Heat generation, doing so with absolute thermodynamic efficiency, venting no discernible thermal signature beyond the reach of even our most sensitive infrared sensors. Conclusion reinforced the core challenge with this fundamental disconnect represents a profound challenge to our understanding of the universe and our place within it. Used inscrutable to replace cannot even conceive of. Flow and transitions added numerous connecting phrases. Their primary aim is twinned. This enigmatic presence stirs. Conversely, a deep-seated apprehension grips. These powerful emotions beneath this layer, it is the physicists,
Crucially, 3IATLAS. Similarly, each sentence is now a logical unit. 9. Word count significantly expanded beyond 200% of the original text while strictly adhering to the original facts and meaning. 10. No numbers requiring spelling out were present in the original text. If this advanced society were to detect our planet, a rare, vibrant blue marble adrift in the cosmic void, pulsating with complex radio transmissions and unmistakably marked on its night side by the unmistakable geometric patterns of artificial lights, all encircled by the expanding, chaotic shell of its orbiting satellites, would their innate curiosity not compel them to observe this discovery with far greater scrutiny? A fleeting high-speed flyby offering only a single frozen snapshot would surely be insufficient. Instead, the persistent presence of 3IATLAS, maintained in a long-term stable orbit around our world, suggests a different approach. From the rigorous standpoint of pure science, Earth stands as the most captivating and unique object within our entire solar system, perhaps even across thousands of light years. We represent a young, dynamically noisy, intensely energetic, and remarkably swift-evolving technological species. We are, quite simply, a profound biological curiosity, a startling sociological anomaly within the vastness of space. This prolonged orbital position would grant its observers the unparalleled opportunity for continuous, real-time study, allowing them to witness the intricate tapestry of our development unfold, to observe the ebb and flow of our conflicts, the arduous climb of our progress, and the constant evolution of our communication in ways utterly impossible during a single rapid pass.
This enduring surveillance, one could argue, would constitute the greatest scientific achievement conceivable within the galaxy. However, this remains the optimistic view. The narrative, unfortunately, takes a sharper, more complex turn. If 3IATLAS functions as part of a broader, perhaps hidden network, its designated role may be fundamentally different. It might serve as an advanced scout, a solitary vanguard dispatched ahead of a vastly larger formation still journeying through the consuming darkness of interstellar space. By maintaining its position near Earth, 3IATLAS could fulfill several critical functions, acting as a vital communication relay, a vigilant monitoring outpost, or even an established anchor point for activities yet to commence. Furthermore, it could be harnessing the powerful gravitational influence and immense energy output of our very own Sun. This energy might be utilized to transmit a high-bandwidth signal traversing the immense distance back to its point of origin, a signal carrying a message of profound significance. Target acquired. Imagine, if you will, the precise actions a human expedition would undertake upon discovering a nascent civilization on a distant world, still years away from developing faster-than-light travel. It is not the type of discovery that warrants a fleeting glance or a simple flyby.
Instead, humanity, possessing both the capability and the cautious ethical framework often debated in scientific circles, would undoubtedly establish a permanent presence. This would involve deploying a sophisticated observational probe, carefully positioning it within a stable, long-term orbit around the developing world. The probe would then engage in constant surveillance, a silent sentinel gazing down upon the burgeoning society below. Its function would be twofold: to observe the intricate tapestry of daily life unfolding, and to meticulously record the planet's ambient electromagnetic emissions, effectively listening to the civilization's unspoken radio and television broadcasts. This persistent monitoring would serve a critical strategic purpose. It would allow humanity to gather invaluable data, preparing meticulously for potential future communication protocols, or, depending on the civilization's development, perhaps contemplating scenarios for controlled interaction or resource assessment. The necessity for such prolonged observation stems from the profound uncertainty surrounding any contact with a society on the brink of technological singularity. Therefore, the enduring presence of the extraterrestrial observers likely stems not from an immediate belief that humanity constitutes a direct threat to them, at least not at this precise juncture. Instead, their vigilance is primarily focused on the inherent risks they pose to themselves and their potential to become a destabilizing force within the wider universe. They're remaining to witness the outcome of their own observational experiment until it reaches its inevitable conclusion. Undeniably, however, the most unsettling possibility always hovers at the periphery of such profound speculation. This is the scenario that inevitably finds its way into the calculations of military strategists across countless civilizations, including our own if confronted with such evidence. What if the act of remaining in orbit and conducting this sustained observation represents merely the initial preparatory phase of direct involvement? What if the probe known as the 3IATLAS is not merely an observer, silently gathering data? What if its presence signifies preparation for an intervention strategy far more sophisticated and subtle than the crude notions of invasion often depicted in human science fiction? This potential for escalation, moving beyond passive observation into active, perhaps even preemptive, engagement, forms the darkest shadow cast by the mere existence of such an entity. If a civilization possessing technological prowess trillions of times our own desired to annihilate humanity, subtlety and caution would be utterly unnecessary. The planet itself would vanish before we perceived the threat. Yet their intentions might not be destruction. Instead, they could be poised for a profound intervention, seeking influence, establishing a presence beyond our capacity to command or resist. Even the most benevolent form of such intervention by an intelligence spanning millions of years ahead of us would irrevocably alter the course of human history in ways fundamentally beyond our comprehension. This arrival by any entity possessing godlike capabilities, however kindly meant, presents a prospect fraught with ultimate terror. It is a reality that the highest echelons of power, NASA, the military establishments of every nation, and the intricate web of global intelligence agencies find deeply unsettling. They are not in agreement on a single course of action. Instead, a frantic and high-stakes debate rages within their corridors of power. Among them, the optimists champion immediate and powerful communication attempts. They argue for sending the prime number sequence back towards the mysterious object, a universal mathematical signal designed to declare our intelligence, our existence, and our hope for peaceful intentions. They argue that curiosity, that most fundamental drive, underpins the object's behavior thus far.
Conversely, the realists and strategists, those who view the situation with grim pragmatism, urge absolute restraint. They advocate for total global radio silence, their warnings urgent and insistent. They caution that any desperate attempt to reach out, any signal we transmit, could be misinterpreted as panic, as weakness, or even as the opening gambit of aggression. We operate without knowing the rules of this unprecedented encounter. We are, in essence, a primitive tribe, suddenly confronted by a stealth bomber, waving primitive spears with no understanding of the terrifying power leveled against us. Every move, every potential signal carries the weight of potential catastrophe. They warn that by broadcasting our presence and revealing our vulnerability, we might execute the single worst possible mistake imaginable in this situation. A profound sense of dread permeates the frantic, clandestine discussions unfolding across governments and scientific institutions. Hidden within this maelstrom of strategy and speculation lies one undeniable, chilling truth that remains largely unspoken, its weight too immense to voice openly. Whatever intentions the entity known as 3IATLAS harbors, humanity possesses no means to halt its advance. This realization forms the bedrock of a new, unsettling reality. We cannot alter its trajectory. We cannot compel it to depart. We cannot inflict damage upon it. Nor can we conceal our existence or presence from its scrutiny. If 3IATLAS chooses to remain, it will do so solely on its own terms, not ours. This entity is simultaneously and rapidly reshaping the very foundations of global strategy, scientific inquiry, and human philosophy. A bone-deep horror is settling upon humankind as we grasp a profoundly new understanding. For the first time within our recorded history, we are no longer merely passive observers gazing upon the universe. We are, inescapably, the subjects under observation. The cosmic order has shifted. We are the watched. Within this context of growing unease, an event occurred that plunged the global defense community into deeper shock, just as astronomers anticipated 3IATLAS completing its maneuver and settling into a new, terrifyingly proximate orbit around Earth. Instead, something profoundly anomalous transpired. Experts, expecting the object to continue shedding momentum, perhaps even disintegrating under the immense strain exerted by its own propulsion system, witnessed the exact opposite phenomenon. The drop in the object's velocity ceased abruptly. It halted completely and instantaneously. It was as if an impossibly powerful force, previously acting to slow it, had suddenly released its hold. Such behavior defies all understanding of natural processes. Natural phenomena lack an on-off switch. Ice does not simply elect to cease sublimating at a single precise moment.
The tidal stresses exerted by a planet do not pause their relentless action because they possess the capacity for volition. The chaotic, cascading failure of fragmentation, the process by which a comet breaks apart, operates without any mechanism for instantaneous cessation. It's a messy, inevitable sequence, not a switchable function. The behavior of the 3IATLAS objects defied conventional understanding. A sudden, decisive shift occurred. In the very next instant, their desperate struggle to maintain velocity against the searing gravitational grip of the sun ceased entirely. They settled into a smooth, silent glide, as if an unseen force had completed its intricate task and withdrawn. The maneuver was accomplished. The precise velocity required for their new trajectory had been achieved. While humanity had previously witnessed an object exhibiting anomalous, non-gravitational acceleration, the visitor, known as Oumuamua, that phenomenon had been subtle, almost open to debate when compared to this. The Atlas maneuver was unequivocally not a subtle nudge. It constituted a sustained, 2-week-long high-energy burn followed by a perfect instantaneous shutdown. Clearly, some intelligence or mechanism guided the 3IATLAS objects through distinct, carefully orchestrated phases. These phases mirrored intelligent timing, a clear purpose, and absolute command over their motion. As researchers delved deeper into the meticulously gathered data, their growing realization became undeniable. This object was not adhering to the fundamental laws governing the universe. It was operating under its own intrinsic set of rules. And precisely when scientists believed the mystery surrounding this phenomenon could peak no higher, and as they were still processing the profound shock of the successful mission complete signal, an event even more perplexing emerged. As the 3IATLAS objects transitioned out of their abrupt deceleration phase and settled into their newly captured orbit, telescopes detected a faint but unmistakable pattern within the light reflected from their surfaces. This pattern was distinctly not the smooth, uniform gleam characteristic of a solid icy body. Furthermore, it was not the chaotic, noisy scatter of light one would anticipate from a field of fractured debris or a tumbling, irregular asteroid. Imagine observing a distant object in the vastness of space. What initially appears is a repeating pulse of light. This flash isn't chaotic or random. It possesses a steady, evenly spaced rhythm. It's a metronomic sequence of reflected sunlight, visible as a distinct glint. Crucially, objects in space do not typically flash in such a consistent and purposeful manner by mere accident. For a reflected glint to remain so steady and rhythmic while the object itself drifts through the void, the implication is singular and profound. It points unequivocally to design.
The structure of the observed object provides compelling evidence for this conclusion. It is described as possessing 3IATLA. This configuration implies the presence of flat, highly reflective, planar surfaces. These surfaces are arranged with unmistakable purpose, not haphazardly scattered, but deliberately aligned. Nature, in its infinite capacity, can craft breathtaking beauty. The spiral arms of galaxies, the intricate patterns in snowflakes, the fractured textures of ice. It can even generate profound chaos. However, nature operates on fundamentally different principles. It does not and cannot engineer and perfectly align vast flat plains specifically to catch sunlight and reflect it in such a precise, repeating metronomic sequence. That kind of geometry, that kind of unflinching precision, that kind of flawless engineering, that is the domain of intelligence, not chance.
If, as more and more scientists are now compelled to acknowledge, this pulse was demonstrably not random, and the accumulating data makes that conclusion increasingly inescapable, then it follows irrefutably that someone or something engineered those surfaces long before humanity even became aware that the object was approaching our cosmic neighborhood. The realization struck with the force of revelation as soon as that rhythmic reflection grew clearer and more distinct within the data streams pouring in from observatories scattered across the globe. Teams of astronomers and physicists immediately scrambled into action, frantically comparing the observed pattern against every known natural explanation for such reflections. Could it be glinting sunlight off an asteroid? No match. Its reflections were too irregular, too unpredictable. Could it be fragments from a disintegrated comet? Equally insufficient. The pattern was nowhere near close enough in its characteristics. Could it be simple solar glints bouncing off uneven rocky surfaces on passing near-Earth objects? Again, the timing was categorically wrong. The flashes were far too precise, far too stable, too perfectly synchronized to be attributed to any known natural phenomenon. The scientific community faced a stark and unsettling truth. This signal defied conventional astrophysical logic. Then came the moment that froze entire research teams in stunned silence across the world. A new and deeply unsettling variable entered the equation. The pulse was not constant, unchanging in its cadence, it was evolving. Slowly, deliberately, each cycle revealed a subtle shift. The pattern itself was transforming. Each flash in the sequence grew slightly longer in duration than the one before it, a calculated progression unfolding over time. This deliberate modulation of the signal's own structure marked a definitive departure from anything produced by inert matter, pointing instead to an agent capable of intent and adaptation.
The phenomenon unfolded with such subtlety that initial observations risked being dismissed as mere instrumental artifact. The celestial body, designated 3IATLAS, appeared to be performing an intricate dance of rotation, its spin subtly modulated with adjustments so infinitesimal they could only be quantified using the extraordinary precision of atomic clocks. This behavior defied fundamental astrophysical expectations. Celestial bodies, formed from rock and ice, devoid of internal energy sources or consciousness, simply do not possess the capacity to consciously fine-tune their rotational dynamics. Yet, the recorded data stubbornly persisted. 3IATLAS exhibited characteristics eerily reminiscent of a vessel executing a complex orbital procedure. It seemed to be actively damping its rotational momentum, much like a sophisticated spacecraft would following an extended propulsion cycle. Having seemingly completed the vigorous acceleration phase of its trajectory, and now settling into a state of controlled, stable translational drift. This potential transition into a new observational posture was the subject of intense scrutiny. The initial detection was elusive, masked within the inherent statistical fluctuations of vast astronomical datasets. Its signature was so faint, so easily indistinguishable from cosmic noise, that it required the meticulous correlation of observations gathered simultaneously by several powerful ground-based observatories positioned across different continents. Only when these independent data streams were synthesized and analyzed collectively did the undeniable pattern emerge. The object's reflective signature was demonstrably not merely fluctuating passively in response to predictable external forces like the angle of sunlight or the minuscule pressure exerted by photons. Instead, the data revealed a responsive quality. The signature appeared to be reacting to the very parameters of its newly established orbit, displaying a behavior that suggested an intrinsic awareness of its own changing state. It was as if the object itself was preparing for a subsequent operational phase, recalibrating its physical orientation based on internal algorithms interpreting its evolving environment. As analysts delved deeper into the spectral analysis of this newly observed stable configuration, one profoundly unsettling realization began to solidify. The evidence pointed towards the existence of an intelligence operating on a scale and with a sophistication utterly alien to human understanding, having deliberately placed 3IATLAS within our solar system. The intricate modulation of its rotation, its apparent self-awareness of orbital mechanics, and its transition into a stable, potentially observational posture were not random occurrences. They were deliberate actions, executed with flawless precision.
The weeks immediately following this revelation will undoubtedly be recognized as the defining period marking the dawn of a new epoch in human history. The trajectory of 3IATLAS is now unequivocally established. It is remaining within the confines of our solar system. This singular fact irrevocably alters humanity's relationship with its cosmic neighborhood. We will henceforth inhabit a solar system where we are no longer the sole possessors of advanced technological capability. We will share our home with an entity whose cognitive abilities and technological prowess are immeasurably greater than our own. Our response is clear. We will observe with bated breath. We will harbor cautious hope, and we will dedicate our collective efforts to preparation. We will adapt to this new reality, knowing that a silent, immensely powerful intelligence has taken up residence among the planets, fundamentally reshaping our understanding of the universe and our place within it. For the very first time in our entire history, we find ourselves standing at a profound crossroads, faced with decisions that ripple across every facet of our existence. These are not mere choices made in isolation. They are pivotal moments that shape the very fabric of our shared reality. The reason for this seismic shift lies in the transformation of an outsider into someone irrevocably woven into the community. No longer just a transient figure passing through life's pathways, this presence has settled into the neighborhood, becoming an integral part of the landscape we once knew. This evolution marks a turning point, where the boundaries between the unfamiliar and the familiar blur, compelling us to reconsider our understanding of connection, responsibility, and coexistence. The consequences of these decisions extend far beyond individual lives, echoing through the collective consciousness of all who call this place home.